Remove her, now. The words didn't echo. They cut. Sharp, immediate, final. And the strangest part, they didn't come from a stranger, they came from my mother. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Security's hand closed around my arm. Not rough, not gentle either, just certain. Like this had already been decided long before tonight. Miss, you need to come with me. I didn't argue. I didn't pull away. I smiled. Yeah, I actually smiled because standing right in front of me, heels planted, chin lifted, expression perfectly composed, was Diane Hart, my mother, watching me like I was a problem she had just solved. And all around us? Silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that spreads fast. The kind that makes people stop mid-sentence, mid-sip, all mid-breath. Conversations died, heads turned, eyes locked onto me. Let me ask you something. What would you do if you were being escorted out of your own event? Because this wasn't just any event. My name was on every table. Printed in clean, elegant font. Founder, Lila Hart. The programs, mine. The partnerships, mine. The idea that filled this entire ballroom, also mine. And yet, there I was, being removed like I didn't belong. I let out a small breath. Not shaky, not angry, just controlled. Then I did something that made it worse. I waved, not dramatically, just a small, casual wave to the crowd, like I was leaving a party early, not getting kicked out of it. A few people blinked in confusion. Others looked at my mother. And that's when I saw it. That tiny flicker in her eyes. Not doubt, not regret. Expectation, like she had been waiting for me to react. To argue, to break, to make a scene. But I didn't give her that. Instead, I smiled a little wider, because here's the thing no one in that room understood yet. This moment, it wasn't the beginning of something going wrong, it was the middle of something going exactly right. As the security guard guided me toward the exit, the room stretched out behind me. Chandeliers glowing, glasses clinking again, slowly, awkwardly as people tried to recover from what they just saw. But the energy had shifted. You could feel it. Like the air was holding its breath. I turned my head slightly, and across the room, Evan, leaning near the back wall, half shadowed by a column, watching everything. He didn't smile, he didn't move, he just gave me a small nod. That was it, and that tiny, almost invisible signal. And somehow, it meant everything, because it confirmed one thing. We were still on schedule. The doors opened, cool night air hit my face. The noise of the gala dulled behind me as I stepped outside, heels clicking against the stone steps. The guard let go of my arm, already turning back inside like his job here was done. But mine? Mine wasn't. Not even close. I reached into my clutch and pulled out my phone. For a second, the screen stayed black, then it lit up. One notification, simple, clean, unavoidable. Upload complete. I stared at it for half a second longer than necessary. Then I exhaled. Slow, steady. You ever plan something so carefully that when it finally happens, it doesn't feel real? That's what this felt like. Not chaos, not revenge, just timing. Behind me, went through the closed doors, I could already hear it. A shift, muffled voices, confusion, something starting. I tilted my head slightly, listening. And then I whispered, quiet enough that no one else could hear it. She thought she was removing me from the story. My thumb hovered over the screen. A second notification began to load. But she forgot something. The phone buzzed again. And this time, I smiled for real. It stacked, then another, and another. My screen lit up faster than I could read them. Message requests, mentions, shares, tags. It was happening, right on time. I didn't rush to open anything. That would have ruined it. Instead, I stayed exactly where I was, on the steps, just outside the venue, like I was supposed to be there all along. Because in a way, I was. You ever notice how people only pay attention once something breaks? Inside that ballroom, nothing had technically broken yet. Not visibly. The chandeliers were still glowing. The speeches were still scheduled. My mother was probably still standing tall, perfectly composed, ready to glide past what just happened like it was nothing. But underneath, cracks, hairline fractures spreading fast, and I could feel it. I finally unlocked my phone. The first thing I saw wasn't a message, it was a video. A clip already reposted 3 times. The thumbnail? My mother. Standing in her office 2 nights ago. Sharp lighting, clean background, calm voice. Too calm. I tapped it. Her voice played instantly. If she tries anything at the gala, remove her. My own voice answered from off camera, then quieter, but clear. You mean me? A pause, then her reply. Flat. Certain. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Lila. The video cut there, short, precise, impossible to misinterpret. I didn't need to scroll to know what came next, but I did anyway. Post after post, each one layered, not messy, not emotional, structured, like evidence, emails, draft documents, original proposals with timestamps, every version of the truth before it was rewritten, before I was rewritten. And the captions? Simple. No ranting, no accusations, just facts, dates, files. Let people connect the dots themselves, because that's what makes it stick. I lowered the phone slightly and looked back at the building. The doors were still closed. But the energy inside? It was leaking out now. You could hear it more clearly. Or not silence anymore. Voices, louder, uneven. A ripple turning into something harder to contain. I imagined it without seeing it. Someone's phone lighting up at a table. A confused frown. Another guest leaning over. Wait, look at this. Then another screen. Another pause. Another shift. That's how it starts. Not with a bang, with a question, and questions spread faster than answers ever can. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Evan. I answered immediately. You're seeing it? He asked. I let out a small breath. Yeah. A pause on his end. Then quieter, almost impressed. You broke the room. I glanced at the doors again. They did that themselves. Another pause. Then he said something that made me tilt my head slightly. Your mom's still talking. That stopped me. She didn't stop the speech. No, he said, but people aren't listening anymore. I could picture that perfectly. Diane Hart continuing like nothing had changed. Because stopping would mean acknowledging it. And she doesn't acknowledge problems. She erases them, or at least, she tries to. Where are you? He asked. Outside. Stay there, he said quickly. Don't leave yet. I frowned slightly. Why? There was movement on his end. Noise, voices getting louder. Then, because I don't think this is staying inside. And right on cue, the doors behind me burst open. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough. A couple stepped out first, then another person, then 2 more, phones in hand, faces tight with confusion or curiosity. And then one of them looked at me, really looked, not the way they did before. Not like I was a girl being escorted out, but like they recognized me, like they had just learned something. My phone buzzed again, another notification, this one different. Local press has picked up your story. I didn't react, didn't move, just stood there, still smiling faintly as the first wave of people stepped out into the night, carrying the truth with them. And inside, whatever control my mother thought she had left was slipping, fast. My mother didn't build this event, she just made sure everyone believed she did. That's the part people don't see. Not at first. Because from the outside, Diane Hart is convincing, confident, polished, the kind of woman who walks into a room and people assume she belongs at the front of it. And for a long time, I let them believe that. I was 15 when the idea started, not in a big, dramatic way. No spotlight moment, no sudden inspiration speech. It was smaller than that, quieter. I was volunteering after school, community center, tutoring younger kids, and I noticed something no one else seemed to care about. The programs weren't built for them. They were built around them. Adults deciding what kids needed without ever asking them. So I asked. I started small. Surveys, conversations, notes in my phone. Then I built something out of it. A youth-led initiative, programs designed by the people they were meant to help. At first, it was just me, then a few volunteers, then more. And somehow, without me even realizing it, it turned into something real. Structured. Funded. Barely, but still. Recognized in small circles. That's when my mother noticed. Not the work. The attention. She stepped in like it was natural. Like she had always been part of it. "I can help you scale this," she said. And she wasn't wrong. She had connections I didn't. Access. Experience. A last name that opened doors. So I said yes. That was the first mistake people think I made. But it wasn't a mistake. It was a trade. At least, that's what I thought it was. Because at the beginning, it felt like a partnership. She handled the formal meetings. I handled the structure, the planning, the actual work. Until slowly, the language started changing. My daughter and I started this, turned into our foundation launched this, which turned into I've been working on this initiative for years. Subtle, gradual, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention, but I was. I always was. And here's the part that confuses people. I didn't stop her, not right away, because every time I thought about pushing back, she'd say something like, "This is bigger than you, Lila," or, "Do you want this to succeed or not?" And the worst one, "You're too young to carry this alone." So I stayed quiet, and I watched, and I started saving everything. Emails, drafts, early proposals with my name on them before they were edited. Voice memos after meetings. Not because I had a plan yet, but because something didn't feel right. And when something doesn't feel right, you don't ignore it. You document it. The gala, that was supposed to be the turning point, the official launch, the moment everything became public in a big way. And originally, it was supposed to be mine. I saw the first draft of the program, and clear as day, founder, Lila Hart. I remember staring at it longer than I should have, not smiling, just confirming, like finally seeing something written the way it was supposed to be. But then, a week later, a new version, same design, same layout, different words. Founder and visionary, Diane Hart Youth Ambassador, Lila Hart Ambassador. I actually laughed when I saw it, not because it was funny, because it was efficient. She didn't remove me. She repositioned me, made it look intentional, respectful even. That's how she works. I walked into her office with the printed program in my hand. Held it up. Didn't sit down. "Explain this." She barely glanced at it, then back to her laptop. "It's more appropriate." "Appropriate for who?" "For the people funding this," she said calmly. They trust experience." "And I'm what?" I asked. She finally looked at me then, measured, controlled. "Don't do this tonight." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I just want my name where it belongs." Her expression didn't change. "If you push this," she said quietly, "you will make a scene. And if you make a scene..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to, because I already knew how she handled problems. She removed them, cleanly, publicly, without hesitation. And that's when it clicked. Not emotionally, logically. She wasn't worried about me being wrong. She was worried about me being visible. So I nodded, folded the program, and said something that surprised even me. "Okay." She relaxed instantly, like the problem had just solved itself. But as I turned to leave, I caught my reflection in the glass behind her desk. And I didn't look upset. I didn't look defeated. I looked focused. Because in that moment, I understood something clearly. She wasn't going to give me my place. So I was going to take it, just not the way she expected. 2 days later, I heard her on the phone, her voice lower than usual, sharper. "If she tries anything at the gala..." I stopped outside the door, didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, "Remove her." A pause, then quieter. "Immediately." I stood there for a second longer, then stepped back silently. No reaction, no confrontation, just one thought settling in. "So that's your plan." And just like that, mine became very, very simple. She thought I'd cause a scene, and that's why she never expected silence. If my mother had one rule, it was this: control the narrative, not the truth, not the facts. The story, Because if you control how people understand something, you control everything that comes after it. And she was good at it. Really good. Which meant if I wanted to win, I couldn't fight her in the same way. No confrontation, no emotional outburst, no dramatic interruption in the middle of her speech, because that's exactly what she was preparing for. That's why security was already briefed. That's why Marcus couldn't even look me in the eye without fidgeting. That's why everything about tonight felt staged. Not for success, for containment. So I gave her what she expected, on the surface. I showed up, dressed perfectly, smiled when spoken to, didn't challenge the program, and didn't correct anyone who congratulated her. I played the role. And the entire time, I was building something underneath it, quietly, precisely. Evan was the only one who knew. We were sitting in his car the night before the gala, laptops open, screens glowing in the dark. "You're really doing this?" he said, scrolling through the files. It wasn't a question, more like confirmation. "Yeah." He clicked into one of the folders. Emails, dates, attachments, everything lined up cleanly. "You organized it like a case file," he said. "I needed it to make sense fast." "For who?" I looked at him. "For everyone." Because here's the thing. If it's messy, people ignore it. If it's emotional, people doubt it. But if it's clear, they believe it. He leaned back slightly, studying me. "And the timing?" I tapped my phone. "I scheduled." "You're not even going to be in the room?" I shook my head. "I'm going to be exactly where she wants me." That made him pause. "And when it hits?" I didn't answer right away, because the truth? I didn't know exactly how it would unfold, only that it would. "People will figure it out," I said finally. He nodded slowly, then asked the question that actually mattered. "And after?" That one lingered, because this wasn't just about proving something. This was about breaking something, publicly, irreversibly. "I don't think there is an after that looks the same," I said. And that was enough. The day of the gala moved too smoothly. That's how you know something's off. No last-minute issues, no visible tension, everything running exactly on schedule. Which meant all the tension was hidden. I arrived early. Was walked through the venue slowly, taking it in. The banners, the tables, the programs. Her version. Every detail polished, every lie. Professionally presented. Marcus spotted me near the entrance. He walked over quickly, adjusting his tie like it was too tight. "Lila, hey," he said, forcing a smile. "You look great." "You look nervous," I replied. That caught him off guard. "I'm not nervous." "Okay," a beat. Then I tilted my head slightly. "She told you already, didn't she?" His smile faltered. "I don't know what you mean." I held his gaze. Didn't push, didn't accuse, just waited. And people hate silence. "She just wants everything to go smoothly," he said finally. "By removing me?" He didn't answer. Didn't need to. That was the confirmation. I nodded once. "Got it." And then I walked away. No argument. And no escalation, which somehow made him look even more uncomfortable. Because again, silence is harder to manage than conflict. 8:32 p.m. I checked my phone. Upload scheduled 8:47 p.m., 15 minutes. That's all that was left. I slipped the phone back into my clutch and took a slow breath. The room was filling up now. Laughter, conversations, glasses clinking. Everything looked perfect. But perfection? It's fragile. And I knew exactly when it would crack. Evan caught my eye from across the room. No words. Just that same small nod. We were locked in. No stopping it now. Then, the lights dimmed slightly, a subtle shift, the signal. My mother stepping toward the stage, applause starting to rise, right on time. I moved closer to the center of the room, not hiding, not avoiding anything. I just placing myself exactly where I needed to be. Because in less than 15 minutes, everything in this room was going to change. And no one, not even her, saw it coming. By the time security touched my arm, it was already too late. Applause filled the room, polite, controlled, predictable, The kind of applause people give when they're supposed to, not because they feel anything. My mother stepped onto the stage like she owned it, which, in her version of the story, she did. "Good evening," she began, her voice smooth, practiced. "Tonight marks a very special milestone." I stood in the crowd, hands loosely clasped in front of me, watching her. Not with anger, not even with frustration, just observation. Because every word she said now, it wasn't building something, it was digging deeper. I've spent years developing this initiative. There it was, the line, delivered flawlessly. No hesitation, no flicker of doubt. If you didn't know the truth, you'd believe her. Actually, even if you did know the truth, you might still believe her. That's how convincing she was. I glanced at the clock on the far wall. 8:44 p.m. 3 minutes. Around me, people were nodding along, smiling, engaged. Some even glanced at her with admiration. That part used to bother me. Not anymore, because admiration built on the wrong foundation doesn't last. It just collapses differently. 8:45 p.m. Right on cue. A presence beside me, then a voice, low and firm. "Miss, we need you to come with us." I turned my head slowly. 2 security guards this time, more visible than before. Intentional. This wasn't just removal. This was a message. I didn't resist, didn't question, just nodded slightly, and that's when it happened. My mother paused mid-sentence. Just for a second. Enough to look directly at me, and then, clear, cold, public. "Remove her, now." The room shifted instantly. You could feel it. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Every eye locked onto the same moment. Me, being escorted out. Exactly like she planned. Except, not exactly. Because this is where she expected something different. A reaction, a protest, emotion. But instead, I smiled. Small, controlled. And then I waved. A simple gesture. Casual, almost polite. Confusion spread faster than anything else. You could see it in their faces, because nothing about this matched. If I was the problem, why wasn't I acting like one? As the guards guided me toward the exit, I let my gaze drift across the room. And there, Evan, still in the same spot, watching, waiting. I held his gaze for half a second and gave the smallest nod. That was it. The signal. Not to start anything, but to confirm it had already started. 8:47 p.m., right on schedule. We reached the doors. They opened. Cool air rushed in, and behind me, at first, nothing. No shouting, no chaos. Just my mother's voice continuing. "And together, we will..." Then, a pause. Not from her, from the room. It's subtle when it begins. One person checking their phone, then another. A slight frown, a whisper. "Wait, what is this?" Another screen lights up, another pause, another shift, and then the sound changes, not loud, but different. Unfocused, uncontrolled, not like a room losing its script. I stepped outside just as the first ripple turned into something stronger. The doors closed behind me, cutting off the full sound, but not the feeling. Because you don't need to hear chaos to know it's happening. You can feel it in the timing, in the energy, in the way everything suddenly stops being predictable. My phone buzzed in my hand. Once, then again, then nonstop. I looked down. Notifications stacking faster than I could read them. Messages, tags, shares. And one that stood out immediately. "Your post is trending." I exhaled slowly. Not surprised. Just acknowledging it. Because inside that room, the story had already flipped. And my mother? She didn't even realize yet. She wasn't controlling it anymore. The first thing that changed wasn't the volume. It was the focus. But inside that ballroom, attention shifted. Fast, sharp, irreversible. Not toward the stage, toward their screens. At first, my mother kept speaking, because stopping would mean something was wrong, and Diane Hart doesn't acknowledge something is wrong in public. This initiative represents years of dedication and a chair scraped. Loud, out of place. Someone stood up, then another. Phones in hand. Eyes no longer on her. That's when her voice faltered. Just slightly. Enough for people to notice. Is this? Someone whispered. No, look at the timestamp. That's her voice. The room wasn't silent anymore. It was splitting, attention pulling away from the version of reality she built toward the one unfolding in real time. Marcus moved first, crossing the room quickly, heading toward the stage, I whispering something urgently to her. She didn't react at first, didn't look at him, didn't break posture. But then, he showed her his phone, and everything changed. Outside, I didn't need to see it to know the exact moment it hit her. Because my phone exploded. Not gradually, all at once. Missed calls, messages, unknown numbers, notifications stacking so fast they blurred. Evan pushed through the doors a minute later, breathing slightly heavier, eyes sharper. It's done, he said. I tilted my head. Yeah? He let out a short, almost disbelieving laugh. She tried to keep talking. That didn't surprise me. And? They stopped listening. That did. I glanced past him as more people began stepping outside, not in groups anymore. Individually, processing. Some looked stunned, others impressed. A few? Eyed directly at me, recognizing, understanding. That shift? That's the moment everything becomes real. What exactly did you send out? Evan asked, even though he already knew. Everything, I said simply, and I meant it. Not a highlight reel, not a selective edit. A full timeline, structured, clear. Starting from the beginning, the original proposal document, with my name, time-stamped 2 years ago. Early emails between me and local partners. Draft versions of the initiative before it became the Heart Foundation edits made under my mother's account. Voice recordings. Calm, uncut, undeniable. Including the one that mattered most. If she tries anything at the gala, remove her. There was no interpretation needed. No spin possible. Just a sequence of facts that built one conclusion. Inside the venue, the collapse wasn't dramatic. It was worse than that. It was controlled until it wasn't. My mother stepped away from the microphone. Not rushed, not frantic, but intentional. Like she could still manage this, contain it, redirect it. But people weren't waiting for direction anymore. They were asking questions. And questions? She couldn't script those. A donor approached her first, phone in hand, expression tight. Is this real? No greeting, no politeness, just that. She gave the only answer she could in that moment. There's been a misunderstanding, but misunderstandings don't come with timestamps, or recorded audio, or a digital trail that hundreds of people are reading simultaneously. Another voice cut in, then another. The pressure wasn't loud, but it was constant, and it was growing. Now, by the time I stepped back inside, yes, inside, the room had completely changed. Not chaotic, not shouting, but fractured. Clusters of people talking in low, urgent tones. The stage, empty, and my mother, no longer at the center. She stood near the side now, still composed, but tighter, controlled but not in control. Her eyes found me almost instantly. Of course they did, and for the first time that night, she didn't look certain. She looked recalculating. You planned this, she said as I approached. Not loudly, not for the room, just for me. Yes. No hesitation, no denial. Her jaw tightened slightly. You embarrassed yourself. I almost smiled at that, because even now, she was trying to define the narrative. You're right, I said calmly. People are definitely seeing something clearly tonight. That landed. Not dramatically, but enough. She glanced around the room, at the conversations, at the distance forming between her and everyone else. And for the first time, she didn't have a move ready. The fallout didn't take days. It started that night. 2 major donors quietly withdrew before the event even ended. One local journalist published a preliminary article within hours. Clips of the audio spread across platforms overnight. By morning, it wasn't a private situation anymore. It was public. Fully, clearly, irreversibly. For Diane Hart, the Heart Foundation Board launched an internal review within 48 hours. Sponsors paused funding pending investigation. Her public image shifted from visionary leader to subject of scrutiny. Invitations disappeared. Quietly. Inefficiently. She didn't vanish, but her control? Gone. For me. The shift was different, quieter, but stronger. People didn't just react, they reached out, directly. Former partners I'd emailed years ago, new organizations interested in supporting the original initiative mentors offering guidance. To me, not through her, and for the first time, no one introduced me as anything other than what I was. For everyone else, Marcus resigned within a week, not forced, just inevitable. Evan, still there, still steady. Worth it? He asked me the next day. I didn't answer immediately, because it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about something simpler. Yeah, I said finally. A week later, no ballroom, no chandeliers, no press, just a conference room, smaller, quieter, real. I stood at the front, my notes in my hand, but not really needing them. A small group sat across from me, listening, actually listening. No interruptions, no corrections, no one waiting to take over. And when I was introduced, it was simple, clear, accurate. Founder, Lila Hart. No extra titles, no adjustments, just the truth. I didn't smile right away, not like before, not controlled, not calculated, just natural. Because this time, nothing needed to be proven, nothing needed to be taken back. It was already mine. Final line. She removed me from the room. A small pause. Then, but not from the truth.